Hello, I'm Forrester and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be sharing some wingman anti-ship tactics, developed from tactics used throughout the 1980s. It's high-speed, low-altitude flying, which is incredibly fun to practice. The attack profile will assume that the pilots are aware of an approximate location for enemy ships and is designed to minimize the radar profile of the attackers whilst hitting the enemy from multiple directions to saturate their defenses. Part 1. Tactic Overview. Broadly speaking, this manoeuvre involves flying as a wingman pair at 100 feet above sea level initially towards the expected location of the enemy ship. We'll call this the final attack heading, although I don't pretend to know if that's the correct terminology in this situation. At 50 miles to target, the wingmen will split, turning plus or minus 45 degrees, the wingman on the left turning left 45 degrees and the wingman on the right turning right 45 degrees. This reduces the closure rate but increases the lateral separation of the wingmen and additionally reduces the radar profile of the attacking aircraft to Doppler radars. At this point, both aircraft will also go to full mill thrust and will remain at 100 feet above sea level. At 32 miles to target, or if radar spiked by one of the ships, both aircraft turn back in to their final attack heading. At final attack heading, they climb to 500 feet pop-up, release their harpoons before descending back to 100 feet whilst turning back to their reciprocal heading. They can then turn back 45 degrees left or right to rejoin whilst their anti-ship missiles cruise towards their unsuspecting targets from opposite directions without any steer point setup. Thus, the attack mitigates radar profile of the attacking aircraft and saturates enemy defences with a choice of missiles with lower time to react. Part 2. Loadout and Weapons Setup. For weapons setup, it's important to set each harpoon station up prior to firing, as the different stations default to different settings. This can be done prior to launch with the bearing updated during flight for ease. For the mode, we'll be using BOL mode or bearing only launch. Check that the flight setting is set to low and the terminal attack is skim. In the UFC, set the search activation to 5 miles and the self-destruct to 50 miles. The bearing to be used is the final attack heading plus or minus 30 degrees, depending on whether you are on the left or the right. If you are the wingman on the left, you need to add 30 degrees to the final attack heading when inputting the bearing, and on the right, subtract 30 degrees. This is to allow the missiles to converge onto the expected location of the enemy ships. For example, if our final attack heading is 310 degrees and I'm the left wingman, I'll enter a bearing of 340 into the harpoon. Remember that these will need to be set for each weapon station. As for loadouts, because of the low flying altitude, I'd suggest a nice even setup with a long range or short range option. For the short range, a single centerline fuel tank, symmetrical air-to-air setup and 4 harpoon missiles give additional firepower. For the longer range setup, a full 3 fuel tanks for the additional range and 2 harpoon missiles. I'd expect which setup is used depends on range to target and other threat environments. Naturally, with air-to-air refueling, the range of either setup option could be increased. Part 3. Summary. I'm sure some avid watchers will have feedback on this strategy, which I'm looking forward to reading in the comments section. But I thought I'd cover a couple of points that might come up, such as why 30 miles was chosen, or why I've chosen not to use missile steer points, and why I'm using bearing only launch mode. For some ships, it would be very possible to get even closer than 30 miles. I calculated that for a ship whose radar peaked at 200 feet, or 65 meters in the waves, the radar horizon for an aircraft travelling at 100 feet will be 30 miles. so it's a relatively safe release point. Additionally, by not using missile steer points, the missile flies a more direct route towards the target, as the attacker or the missile would likely be detected upon firing. A more direct sea skimming route reduces the time that an enemy ship would have to prepare defences. It's worth adding that in DCS, many of the ships with anti-missile defences are incredibly efficient, so multiple attacks are a necessity. This could be further augmented by coordinated AGM-88 harm launches from altitude to saturate enemy defences. In the examples where ships have been struck by anti-ship missiles in reality, such as in the Falklands War and the Stark incident, there are far more variables that come into play than DCS gives credit for. I hope you find this tactic interesting, and if you enjoyed the video, please press the like button and subscribe to be notified of future content. Please also share your own thoughts in the comments. Thank you to my DCS organisation, The Art of War 88th, for helping me perfect this technique, and I've shared their details in the video description. And finally, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll hear from me in the next video.